Alright guys, welcome to Eibach's Garage. Today I'm going to try to kind of show you what I went through a few weeks ago when I was changing the camber bushings out of this 2013 Dodge Challenger. And the video I made, I had the headpiece on that you put on, and it just didn't quite turn out that great. And this is not a how-to, this is just tips and problems that you may run into when you're changing these bushings out. And I've actually got this camera mounted on my arm here on my wrist to see if that'll help out a little bit. But I'm just going to kind of show you some things that you're going to go through when you put like these Proline eibach lowering spring or any lowering springs that lowers it more than like 1.5 to 2 inches. And you'll have what they call camber problems. In my case, if you could see my hand, like this is how the tire is supposed to be setting in there, and it was setting in there like this. And when you're looking at the rear end, the tire has negative camber. So when you put these, that's the upper control arm, and there's the lower control arm next to it right there. Hopefully you can see it, upper and lower. And these are the two bushings that you're going to be changing out right here to get the camber right. Let me show you real quick the part number that you're going to need, or the part number that you'll need for a 2013 RT Challenger. And these are SPC Specialty Products Company. And that's the part number. And bear with me, I know my camera footage is, you know, not on point like some of these big time YouTubers that want everything to be perfect, and they'll shut the camera off. And here, let's just do it like this. Let me take this off a second. Sorry about this, but I'm trying to hurry up and do this where I can get to work and get these things out and replaced. But anyway, this is what the lower control arm bushing is gonna look like. See how it's tapered right here. The eibach ones you buy are rounded all the way around. They're not tapered, and they got grooves cut across in them that it's probably a little bit better and easier to put in, not aggravating. And I'll show you why the lower one is a little bit aggravating, because of this being tapered when you're putting it back in. And then this is the top one. And all of them, when you put them in, your numbers will be facing towards the front of the car when you put them in. So when I put mine in, that'll actually be facing towards the front of the car, and it'll be sitting in there like this. The rounded end will be towards your person, and it'll be, you know, I'll show you once I get it up in there what I'm talking about. But this is tapered, and it's the lower one, and it's a pain in the ass. It's not really a pain in the ass to get in there, it's just a pain to get this real thin control arm that you see. Let me get my light where you guys can see what I'm talking about a little better. And this may be a little bit too bright, but you can see it. Most of my videos are going to be raw, and that's probably the problem why I don't have a lot of viewers, because, you know, people look at it like, nah, this guy's an idiot. His videos can't really tell what he's doing. But set this here. Maybe it'll sit here for a second until I can get this thing mounted somewhere where I might show you guys something. And it's not going to cooperate with me. But anyway, maybe you can see it. But this is the lower one. And see how that's tapered right here? And see how thin that metal is right here on that lower control arm? Well, when you put this thing in, it's going to be facing this way. The numbered end is going to be facing towards the front of the car. And when you're driving it in there, you got to make sure that this thick part of this control arm is setting, I believe, on top of this here. That way, when you're driving and you're torquing the car and all that stuff, this control arm doesn't pop off this tapered end and on this this lower part here of this bushing. And on the other side, I can just barely start seeing the lip. So I'm praying to God I got it in there all the way. It's not come out, and I've been driving. The only problem I had was the bolt actually come out. And the reason for that is you're not supposed to tighten these bolts and stuff down on suspension until the suspension is under a load, like the wheels being down. And it's hard to get any kind of tool in there to tighten anything down if everything is on a load. Now, I don't know if putting a jack up under this and jacking up on this until it bottoms the spring out would be considered, you know, a load, but that's what I did. And I guess you could probably back it up on drive-up ramps and somehow get in here. You just really can't, not with that wheel. I mean, see, that is a 20 by 10.5 inch wheel, staggered wheel, and there's just no way that you're going to get a tool up in there because hell, the wheel is set nearly on the sway bar. And but anyway, these are kind of a bitch to get out, I ain't gonna lie. And back in the back where this control arm goes, you can't even take this thing out because when you take that bolt out back there and you start pulling the bolt out, it hits on this spring or the spring mount, and you can't pull it out. And the only way people are getting them out is cutting the heads of the bolts off and pulling the bolt out, buying a new bolt. And buying a bolt that doesn't have the made-on washer, because these bolts have made-on washer. You can't like slide the washer off the bolt and pull it out. Why Dodge did that shit, I don't know. It's aggravating as hell on some of the ways that they design these cars. They almost make it impossible for you to work on unless you've got you know, a lot of tools on hand. I happen to have a torch, you know, I happen to have a sawzall, I have all that crap that I need, but you know, it's just really hard to get up under here and do it. But anyway, what I'm going to do is, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the correct sockets, and I'll tell you here, I'll shut the video off and I'll get everything set up and I'll show you what tools I use. But what I do is I pull this one out first and get it out, and I loosen the bolt back there so that this will fall down. If not, it'll be sitting up here the whole time. And usually what I'll do is I will let it sit up here until I get it pulled out. And but when I'm working on this bottom one down here, you want this loose so it'll drop down so that you can get your setup, which the setup I'm using to get them out is you can buy it at Harbor Freight for about 40 bucks, and it's a ball joint puller tool. And what you'll be using is you'll be using these two pieces here, and I think either this cup or this cup, I can't remember. But when I set them up, I'll show you. But when you get these bushings out, when you push them out, it only pushes out halfway, so you'll have that much of the bushing still sitting inside the control arm. So you'll have to take like a 27mm socket. I believe, I'm not sure if this is it. I'm just going to use this. Let's just say this is a 27mm socket, which this is this is a 27mm. So what you'll do while it's still sitting in the control arm is you'll take this socket and you'll fit it in this tool here. You'll put one side to where the bushing will actually slide through the cup as you're pushing it through and not get bound up. So let's just imagine for a minute that this cup is on there. Imagine for a minute that you got this other side over here and you're pushing this part. You're activating it with your power tool or your ratchet, however you're pushing this through to push the bushing out. But anyway, this, and I'll show you when I get it set up, so don't get, this guy's confusing the heck out of me. But anyway, you'll butt that up to this bushing when you're pushing it through. And this is after, you don't put that on there yet. This is when you're taking it out. Because this is smaller, you can see it's like a little size smaller than the bushing. But it's enough to get on the edge of this lip here. It'll push it through the control arm and out the other side without getting stuck inside the control arm. That's how you get them out. When you're putting them in, you set everything up and you push it through until it bottoms out. And once it bottoms out, you'll have about that much of this sticking out. And you just take this and butt up against this, and while paying attention, I usually will ratchet it. I use this because if I use my power tool, it pushes it through too fast. And after it's in there halfway using my air tool, I'll use this and I'll use this ratchet and I'll ratchet it, and then I'll take everything apart and look at it to make sure that there's an even number, I guess, it's in there even. It's not like sticking out one way or the other too much, because it's got to be in there just perfect. And like I said, all the numbers will be facing, that you see here, the dials will be facing towards the front of the vehicle, and it'll be sitting in there just like that. I mean, this hole will be sitting to where it's right like square, but I'll show you once I get it in there what I'm talking about. But I'm trying to hurry and do this video because I'm only off for a couple of days and I'm trying to get this thing done. Because last time when I done this side over here, it took me 2.5 days to do it because I didn't really know what I was doing and I was watching videos. But I'll explain to you my tip, to where a lot of guys, when they're doing these videos, they're pushing through those, and I don't know if I still got the old one in here or not. I thought I saved it. I was going to show you what I'm talking about. I think I threw it away. But this end right here is what they use, or what we use to push. Let me get it out. Sorry about this, guys, but I'm hoping this helps you out a little bit. Like I said, this is called Paul Blart's garage for a reason. If Paul Blart, Mall Cop, Kevin James was to have a garage, this would probably be, and it was a comedy, this would probably be, you know, what he was doing. But anyway, people were setting everything up. This is not how you set up. People were setting everything up. And let's just say this is the old bushing that's in the arm, and they were using this to push the middle of this through. Let's just say this is a control arm. Say this is sitting inside here. They were using this part to push this bearing out. And if it's rusted and stuck in there, what'll end up happening, it'll push this centerpiece out, which is encased in rubber inside the sleeve. It'll push it out, and then you'll just have this sleeve sticking in there. So then when that happens, you'll have to take this 27mm socket and butt it up, you know, set it up in there like that and butt it in there just perfect. And when you're just doing it one person, it's hard, especially if you're not using the air tool to get that thing to started. Because if you're using this ratchet here, because you're, you know, ratcheting it down on it, torquing it, you know, all this shit's moving around, it'll pop off and go this way or that way, and it's aggravating. So I use the air tool to hit it real quick to butt it up in there straight, and then I just run it out through that control arm with this socket, and it'll push that sleeve out. But I'll show you here in just a few what I'm talking about, because you know, each side has been a you know, kind of a pain in the ass to figure out how to get them out, because really the videos people show, what they want to do is they want to show you the finished product. That, you know, hey, we just went out here and whipped these things out, and you'll see them cut away, and you'll be able to tell that they're cutting the film. They'll cut away and then they'll come back, and they won't show the problems they're having, because they want the video to be perfect, because they want, you know, really good views, and you know, they want everybody to think that they're a good mechanic and everything was smooth and there was no problems. Me, I'm going to show you the raw. I'm going to show you all the headaches you're going to go through to get these out. You can do it. If I can do it, if Paul Blart's garage can do it, you can do it. But like I said, it took me 2 days to do the other side because I really didn't know what to do. Because see how rusted that sleeve is right there, that bushing is sitting in. I even put PB Blaster on there and let it sit for an hour, both of these sides, and that will not come out. You will not put that tool on there and put that and push that rubber sleeve with that piece of metal in it. It will not stay in that sleeve. It's going to bust out the other side, or at least mine is. You see how rusted that is? Now what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to take this bolt out, and I'm going to get this up, and I'm going to take some scouring pad and some kind of lubricant. Let's see what I got over here, like WD-40, and I'm going to spray on here, and I'm going to take some scouring pad that I have, and I'm going to clean both of these edges off of this bearing. I mean this sleeve. That's the bushing, your camber bushing, the upper. And after I do that, I'm going to set my tool up, and I'm going to push that part of the sleeve all the way to where it's flush up against the back part of this this upper control arm, which is as far as it's going to go. It's not going to come out. And then I'm going to shine up. I'm going to take my WD-40 and spray on here, and I'm going to shine that up really good. And then I'm going to set it up to where I'm pushing through that way, and I'm going to push that clean part all the way that way. And then I'm going to take, because I got more room from here to there to put my power tool in. That's why I'm doing it with everything set up. And then I'm going to set everything up and push it through to where that sleeve is flush here. And then I'm going to take my 27mm socket and butt it up against the sleeve, and I'm going to push it out all the way out the other side, and it's going to come out. Now if you want to be brave and you want to, which, you know, I can take and set the tool up to where, you know, I should have brought it over here, sorry guys. I can take it to where this part right here on your tool, the way people are doing it, is they're setting it up to where that part of the tool right there is pushing in that center piece, and what it's doing, if it's welded in there because it's rusted, it's just going to blow that damn middle piece out, and then you're going to be stuck trying to get this sleeve out, which is, you know, maybe what happens anyway. Of course, I'm not going to put that on there like these guys are doing on these videos. I've seen 2 or 3. If you type in 2013 Dodge Challenger, changing your camber bushings out, upper control arm camber bushings rear, and there's 2 dudes that do it, and I mean, they make it look really easy, but you can tell that they're cutting away from the video, and you know, are actually having problems, but they're not showing it. But I'm going to show it. I'm going to tell you. But when you do this lower one here, what I do is you can come down here. It's 2 18mm. I got a self-ratcheting ratchet. A wrench and a regular wrench. And I'm going to hold that bolt back there, and I'm going to loosen it to where this will drop down. Now be careful when you're loosening this stuff. Don't have your hand sitting here, because this thing springs up. And if you got your hand up here and you're trying to hold it down, or got somebody holding your tool for you and their hands are over in here, it's going to break their hand, crush their hand, or break their finger, because this thing has a lot of torque behind it, and it shoots up like this, and so does the lower one. But you'll want to loosen that bolt back there once you get this one, you know, the bushing changed out on this one. Loosen the bolt back here enough to where this will drop down, and that way that you can get your tool and everything set up on this one. You'll see what I'm talking about. If you just go ahead and pop this one up, and you loosen this one to do this one, after you put the bushing in this one, they're both going to be sitting next to each other, and you're not going to be getting no tool on it, because they're going to be sitting up here like this. So you loosen the bolt on the back of this one back here, so this will drop down, and then when you undo this bolt, this one will be sitting up here, and you can get your tools and stuff in here and work. Some of these guys don't show that, but I'm just telling you, all you got to do is loosen it enough to where it drops down. But I wouldn't do that until after I got this bushing out and got the other bushing in. Then I'd loosen it and drop it down, and this one, when you undo it, it'll pop up. And I'm going to tell you, you're going to need a free jack to put up under here. Now, I'm going to have to go on the other side and take my jack down once I get this loosened, so that you can put a jack up under here to lift it, so that when you get ready to put the bolts and stuff back in here, which is not going to line up, it's going to be an ass to get these bolts back in here. Remember how it goes in. You don't want the head of this bolt on this side and vice versa, because that's just not how it's designed. I make sure my bolts go in the same way they come out. Now you probably might want to keep the jack up and keep pressure on the spring and everything to simulate that the suspension's under load when you put these in, because if you put them in while it's just sitting there, the same thing's gonna happen to you that happened to me, where this bolt came nearly out, and scared me to death. I could feel slack in my rear end, and my rear end was shifting around, and I got out here and stuck my hand through my wheel and grabbed a hold of this, and it was just barely hanging on. So I drove real slow home and backed it up on my backup ramps, and I tightened it up as tight as I could with my hand, and I was able to get a wrench in here, or not a wrench, but a socket in here, and tighten it up. If you can't do that, if you're like me with the wheels, or a pain in the bitch to get in there and you don't have the proper tools, then I would use a jack it up, put pressure on it where you see that spring tensing up and you feel like there's enough load on it. And I know this is kind of, you're probably not what a mechanic would tell you to do, but that's how I did it. And I just took my air wrench and tightened it down. Now remember how many threads I had showing through here also, which was like 3 or 4 threads. So it looked like it did, before I took it off, because I actually did video of it that didn't show up as good. But anyway, I've talked long enough. Let me get my tool set up to get this out, and I'll come back and I'll show you what tools that I use to fit these 2 bolts, and then I'll show you after I get them out, and then I'll show you how I set my tool up to get this control arm bushing out. Anyway, Paul Bart, and I'll be right back in just a moment. Okay, welcome back to the garage. I'm going to show you a tool that's going to save you a lot of time and a lot of heartache. I'm going to show you the one that a lot of guys have in their shop that is a pain in the ass, but it does its job. And I got this at Harbor Freight. This one about a year or so ago. I think I paid like 70 or 80 bucks for it. Maybe it's 50 or 60, I don't know. As you can see, it's about a year, almost 2 years of usage, And as you can see, once you get tool like the tool that I'm going to be using to press that bushing out, there's no room to back anything out without hitting this here with this. So, having said that, I'll show you what I paid at Harbor Freight here recently. And it was $111. It's well worth the money so far. And it's this little guy right here. Paid $111 for it, and it's got like 750 pounds of torque. And it works pretty good. Can't complain about it so far. The only thing I don't like about it is the plastic. That, you know, these dowels here, plastic, that's plastic. It's something you don't want to do like a lot of shops do, where they're dropping them on the floor and all that shit, because you'll end up tearing it up. But it's considerably smaller than the other one. But anyway, this is when you're taking this bolt out on this upper control arm to do the bushing. I usually will put, you know, like an 18 millimeter. Well, it calls for an 18 millimeter on both sides. So, you know, what I'll do is get an extension and put it out here, and I'll hook my air tool and stuff up, and I'll run this bolt out. And I'm going to show you here in a minute. I'm going to hook everything up, and I'm going to take this off and show you what this arm does when you get that bolt out. It probably won't come out right away, because it'll go in to where it bottoms out right here, and then you'll have to take your air tool and put it on the back and just reverse that bolt out the back here. And when you do, this arm just shoots up. But give me just a second, and I'll be right back after I get everything hooked up. Okay guys, pretty much got everything set up. As you can see, that's how we're going to take it out, and I'm just going to reverse it out. And it's going to be extremely hard for me to film this action. Like I said, this fender well here is so far down that if I put my headpiece on, the head mount, so you can try to watch it, all you're going to see is that fender. That's what happened in the last video I did on the other side. So I'm going to try to get it set up somehow. I got another mount that I might be able to mount somewhere in here where you can actually watch a lot of the process. And all I have to do is reach up, turn the camera on as I'm doing things. So anyway, that's how I set everything up, and I'll be back in just a moment. Alright guys, might have it set up where you might can see what I'm doing. But anyway, if you're just tuning in, this is a 2013 Dodge Challenger, and because I got these Proline eibach lowering springs, my camber's off. I got my 18 millimeter socket, 18 millimeter wrench. This is the upper control arm. This is the bushing that has to come out, and hopefully I've got that on there. When I'm trying to show you what will happen if you got somebody up here holding a wrench and they're holding it to where their hand's up in here, what can happen when this, well, it won't pop out directly, but once I get this nut off, and I'll switch my power tool to the back here and reverse this bolt out. Anyway, the bolt's still in there. Sorry about my air tool. And what I'll do is I'll take like a, I'll take this bolt or nut, and I'll run it on the bolt enough to where I got threads, but not to where I'm hitting the end of that bolt, because I don't want to flare that bolt out. You know, you can take a rubber mallet or a steel mallet and knock that bolt out as far as you can until it flushes up to the back of this bushing, and then hook your air tool up to this bolt and pull it the rest of the way out. So let's get that set up, or get me a mallet. And this may be too big. Let's see what happens here. Just be careful, you don't want to, you know, bend that bolt or anything. And I'll just go ahead and take this off. And I might end up letting the other side down over there and just bringing my jack and put it up under here where I don't have this thing hanging down and it be bound, because the suspension is sitting down. I should probably have a jack under it, but and these things right here come in handy. Put bolts and stuff in it. I usually just you know, can stick it up there like that. And get my little handy dandy air tool here and put my 18mm socket on it. Take this extension off, set it to the side. And these things, when they're new, when you first get them out of the box, are like a pain in the butt to get the socket onto the end of the air chuck. Maybe you can see it here. I got it on there. Well, sorry about that, guys. I'm trying to move all this shit out of the way. Stick that over there, and hopefully you can see. Now watch this. Boom. Just imagine if your hand was up here when that came up. And that's the tip. You know, a lot of people will put their hand in here and try to hold it or whatever, and it'll shoot up like that, and it'll cause you, it'll hurt you if it comes. It won't hurt you that bad, but it'll hurt you enough to where you won't want to do it again if your hand's up there when it pops up. But I don't loosen this bolt in the back here on this control arm until I get ready to take this other one up. What I'm going to do is go ahead and work with this one and get this one out. Like I said, I'm going to push, probably going to push that way first, clean all this up with a, let me show you what I use. A lot of you probably know what this is. But it's actually a Scotch-Brite pad. Actually a Scotch-Brite pipe, WD-40. And once I push this bushing, this camber bushing out that way with my tool, depending on which way I want to push it, I'll take this WD-40 and I'll spray it on the outer lip of this bushing, or actually the sleeve of the bushing, and then I'll clean them off to get all that surface rust and everything off, so when I'm pushing it through, you know, there's not a lot of resistance, because that's what's holding it in there, is that rust. And but you just clean this up, just kind of get some of the surface rust off of it. And I also use PB Blaster, and just kind of work it around. I'm sure some of you know what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to accomplish. This may not be necessary to some folks, but I live in the Gulf, and a lot of things rust up here, especially if you got sea salt water or rain and you don't wash it off your car, and a lot of stuff rusts. That's why about once or twice a week I would just get out and take water, just regular. I got well water, and I've also got just regular water, and I'll spray everything down up under here to try to keep things from rusting up. But anyway, I'm going to set my tool up, and I'll be back in a minute. Hopefully I didn't spray that crap all over my camera just now. I see some on the base of it. Hopefully y'all can still see what I'm doing. But anyway, I'll be back momentarily. Okay guys, let me show you how I have mine set up. Maybe that light's not too bright, but anyway, I have the cup set on this side of this control arm. The sleeve, or actually the bushing, is inside this cup. When I start pushing it through, it allows it to go in this cup and not get bound up. And then I just have this end holding this other coupling, or this other piece of the ball joint puller kit here. And then a lot of people, what they're not doing is they're not using this part right here that comes in the kit to push this sleeve through. They're just pushing it through this piece here, and it's pushing the rubber piece of the bearing, I mean this bushing, all the way out the other end through the sleeve and busting out of the sleeve. So I set mine up like this, and we're going to try, hopefully it will push the sleeve all the way up flush with this side of this control arm. And then I'll take everything down, and I'll clean that end surface up here on this other side with my Scotch-Brite pad, and then push it back through that way. If I see that it went, you know, if it flushed up there pretty good enough, what I'll probably end up doing is just taking my 27mm socket and sticking it in here and setting it up, and button it up against the sleeve and pushing out the other side. And I'll show you how I do that once I get this done, but let's just go ahead and see how this works. I believe this is how I had it set up last time. And you want to put this on forward instead of reverse, and I've got it on like the I've got it on probably about 450 pounds of torque. And you know, you can see, well, that's not going to be the right socket for that. And let's go change the socket out. I think it might be like a 21 millimeter. I'm not sure, but let's go look. Sorry about that, guys. Usually I got everything set up ready to go by the time I bring the camera back. And I don't think that's the right size. That's a 20, so it's going to be about 23 millimeter. Let's see. I think I may have my 23 millimeter over there in the box. It's the 21. I know that's not it. Give me just a second, guys. Alright, 22 millimeter. So the end of my tool is a 22 millimeter. Let's go ahead and put this 24 back on here, which I don't even think came with the kit that I bought. Anyway. And that's what I hate about when you first buy these air chucks. Getting the socket or whatever going in. So we got that going forward. So hopefully it doesn't bound up or nothing. Maybe you can see it. And what it's doing is sliding in this cup. So I don't know if that's going to work or not because it needs to go in there straight. What it's wanting to do when you put pressure on it is ride this cup and slide it to the top, and then it starts pushing that sleeve out or this bushing out at an angle. That's not what I want to do. What I may end up having to do, I may end up having to put that other flat cup in there, this part here, may end up having to put that in there so that the other end goes in here and pushes it that way. Sliding up this here. So let's take this one out, put this one in, and I'll be back with you in a moment. Alright guys, I got this other piece on here and it's slipping also. I have to let my air compressor build up. I need a really good air compressor, but I just got this 4 unit for now. But hopefully I'll get enough in there to get that going through. And let's see if I need to put this on a higher setting. Let's see what that does. I don't even think it's moved that sleeve at all. I'm talking about none. And let's see what we got. And hopefully I don't have fluid all over my lens, but we're doing it. We're trying this air. say 750 pounds of torque and it's not even budging. That's the problem I had with the other side. It just being in there so damn froze, so damn bad that you can't get it out. And really, even with a cheater bar, if you're in here trying to do it by yourself, it's hard to hold this and push that through because it wants to lift and give when you're trying to do it. And I have I take my jack. Let's see if this thing will slide out without me having to try to get it out. And I take my jack rod here, and that's kind of sort of what I had to do on the other side. And I just run it in there, and I actually had to put my foot down on this while pulling up with this. So if that's going to be the case, I'll probably just have to shut the camera off and come back, because I'll just look too much like an idiot trying to get it off, because there's no way I'm going to be able to hold this and without putting my foot here, and I'm going to have to move my chair and all my crap that I got sitting behind me out of my way. So you really need two people when you're doing this job, because like I said, 750 pounds of torque, and it's not even budging, not even in the slightest. So what I had to do on the other side, which I'm not acrobatic at all, and I got this thing setting pretty high off the ground, is I had to set it up like this. I had to come up here and try to put my foot on it. And you know, I'm right foot and I'm right-handed, and I just can't get enough bite on it to move it. And like I said, it's not even attempting to move. And like I said, 750 pounds of torque, and it's not moving. And the help that I had when I did the other one is just somebody holding the tool down so that I can ratchet. And I don't know if I can tie this down any kind of way to where it won't move, unless there's some way I can get it to come up and hit that bar there. And I don't want to torque on that bar any at all, because I don't want to break or bend anything. But guys, this is a job that you probably want to do when you got help. Let's see if I can turn it any at all. No. That's it, guys. It's a job, and it's probably one that you want to do when you got two people. I actually had my stepdad help me on the other side. He just held this with his foot while I used my ratchet. But your air tools, unless you got something like 1,000 or something pounds of torque, like I said, it's not even gonna come close to taking that off or moving it. But it's an aggravating job. Now, I wasn't going to show you this part of it, but I want you to know how frustrating it can get. Get some kind of tie, like I said, or chain or something other, and wrap it around here to where it holds this down. But that may be my only choice, because I don't, like I said, I don't have any help. So let's see if I can get something to hold this down or something other where I can actually get on it. Alright guys, let me show you what I'm having to do. And I ended up having to take this crowbar and run it up under this sway bar, let it sit on top of this control arm, and then the part of the frame is there. I sat on this while taking my ratchet and ratcheting this thing. But when I did that, the socket that I have on the end of this ball joint puller tool kind of rounded on this on my tool here, and I got to take this all apart because it's already flush on the control arm now, and knock this off, and hopefully I hadn't run it into my tool here, and set my socket up on the 27mm socket up on this side and push it out the rest of the way. So let's just hope it's that easy. I shouldn't use the word easy because it ain't been easy all the way up to here, but I'm showing you in the raw. This is just kind of crap you're going to go through when you're trying to get these things out. Like I said, I got a 750 pound torque air chuck here, and it wouldn't even begin to budget. And when you're trying to ratchet it up on it, this arm comes up and you have absolutely no power whatsoever. And I'm right-handed, and I'm trying to hold this with my left hand, and you're just not going to do it. I don't give a shit if you're Hercules, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Brad Castleberry, I don't care who. But anyway, let's get this tool off. Let me get this socket off. When I get my 27mm socket and everything set up to push the bearing or this bushing rest way out, I'll come back. Now guys, I want to show you, that's what the sleeve looks like on the inside of this, and hopefully I'm not getting this on my camera. But I just put a little PB blaster on there, and I've got this bushing nearly all the way through. All I have to do is put my socket, 27mm socket, butt it up against this part of the sleeve, the lip of the sleeve, and push it the rest of the way out. Hopefully it goes that easy. I was able to get my socket off, and it didn't do no damage to my tool. It was actually stuck on the end of this, but when I dropped the tool on the ground, it actually came off. So we're able to get that. But anyway, let me get my 27mm socket, and I'll get everything set up, and then I'll show you how I get this out. Alright guys, we're going to show you how I'm doing this. Hopefully you can see, maybe you can. I have my right knee in here, up under here, holding one side of the tool up, because it's just me. I don't have three people, and you just pretty much. This next part is aggravating as shit, and I'm just going to tell you, when you're trying to get a socket, this 27mm socket has to get in there, and I'm telling you, it's hard to hold both ends. This tool weighs about 10 pounds, and you want to get it on there as straight as you can, and it's kind of hard to hold this socket and manipulate this piece back here at the same time. You just about kind of have to wedge it on there and get it just perfect to where when you stick the socket up there, it'll wedge, and then you can tighten it up. Like if I let go of it now, it'll just fall down, and it, like I said, it's aggravating as shit doing it by yourself, guys. If you got somebody that can help you, it makes this job all the more easy. But when you're trying to Paul Blart it like I am, and you're the Lone Ranger, it's hard as shit to get it in there. And my tool is kind of being uncooperative with me. Let's see if there's any way I can, if I could just get it started, kind of sort of like that. You kind of want it to go in there straight, and it's not wanting to go in there straight at all. But I'm thinking that's probably the best it's going to do. Let me get my light out and see how close. The biggest thing, I hate this freaking light. Alright, I'm going to take this off. Alright, look here. See, I have that socket, 27mm, like stuck on the outer edge of this sleeve of this bushing. That socket's what's going to push that out the rest of the way. And as you can see, I had my knee up here under the tool like this. And then, you know, I was able, you saw what I did. I was able to hold everything in line. So let me get my air tool on here and start pushing it, and hopefully it'll push it through straight, because it's not in there. It's not going to take much to get it the rest of the way out. But just bear with me, and I'll set this camera back up like I had it. But I wanted you to see how, you know, that has to be on there. 27mm socket, and I'll be right back. All right, guys, we're back, and hopefully it pushes it through straight. And if this moves on that socket and causes it to, you know, go in another direction, then, you know, I may have some problems. But I'm gonna set it on the highest setting I have, and hopefully it goes straight and pushes it through, because it's already nearly on the edge here. Still on here good. I may have to put my stupid crowbar back up under here and do it manually. I've got it on the highest setting. It's on 3. Let it build back up, see if I can get it to push through. I just don't see how 750 pounds of torque is not pushing that bearing through, pushing that bushing through there. Alright, it moved a little bit. And just making sure I don't have nothing bound, because it has to be on there. It has to be on there perfect, and it looks pretty straight. Got it on the highest setting now. Let's see what happens. Let my air tank build back up. I need a professional air tank is what I need, but I got one of these little floor units that it does good for a couple of seconds, and then, you know, there's basically not enough air to get the full 750 pounds. All right, let's see if we get any. I believe it's doing it, guys. It's moving it. I don't like too much more. I think one more time it'll go out the other side. I know it's going to be a long ass video, guys, but whoa, got too excited there, came off the end of my tool. Man, the socket's pissed. Well, maybe one more time. It's almost through though. Probably not much holding it on there. wanted to come back and show you how I got it set up. And I just put the other bushing in there, put the hole where it's about right here. I'll show you, I'll take the tool off and show you. But anyway, this is how I got everything set up. And I've got it nearly halfway in. I just got to go in probably about another ½ inch or so. I had to finagle it around to make sure everything was going straight. But once I get it in, I'll show you how I have the hole. I won't bolt it up yet. I got to loosen this end back here, drop this down so I can get the lower one out. Okay guys, this is what you don't want to do. As you can see, I've got it pushed too far out, so now I've got to set it up and push it back through so it'll be evenly. If I had stopped where I started the video, then you know, I would have been perfect, but now I got to set it up and push it back that way just a little bit, which is not going to be that hard to do since it's in there and I've got everything cleaned up and it's a clean surface. But anyway, let's get that done and I'll come back when we start the lower one. Alright guys, this is pretty much how you want it to have it. I hate this freaking flashlight, but that's pretty much centered in the upper control arm. And see how I have the hole, and all of the markings and everything are on the other side facing the front like it says in the directions. But that's going to give you positive camber instead of negative camber, and so when you take it to alignment shop and line it and all that stuff, they'll be able to align it, and it does have adjustment in it. But now we just need to get this bottom one out. But first we've got to loosen the bolt on the end of this, which like I said, it looks like this bolt here, and it's got that made on washer on it at the head there that hits on this spring bracket that the spring sets in up here right there where I'm hitting it on the back side. When you try to take it out, that washer hangs on it and doesn't allow you to take this arm out. It's been really easy for me to take this arm out and go back there and press these in using my take these arms off and press them in using my vise I have in the back. I'd already had these things in and driving down the road, but you know, Dodge for some reason makes them where you can't take them bolts out without cutting the heads of them off. Doesn't matter how you manipulate anything, you're not going to get them out without cutting the heads off, or at least on this car you're not. But anyway, let's get this nut, or actually this bolt on the back here loosened where this arm will fall down. And I have some ratchet and wrenches, excuse my language, and drop this down, and then I'll be able to get this one out and work on it. And what I had to do on this bottom one is it only comes up to here, and what I ended up doing is taking some wire and wiring it up to this and bringing it up to where I get my tool and stuff into it. But probably won't have to do it if I'm going to drop this down. We'll see. I had to on the other side, but anyway, let's get some progress. Alright guys, just want to show you that I finally got the bottom control arm camber bushing in. You remember me showing you that it has a tapered end? The tapered end sits in this upper control arm in this bracket right here. See, it's perfect. It's lined in there perfect. You see where the tapered end is starting to show on the outside of the towards the front of the upper, or actually lower control arm. That's where you want to stop, and you know, it's in there just about perfect. It's not going to come out, so I need to get my jack out from the other side and jack this up so I can line these bolts up and get the bolts in there. And once I get everything lined up, then I'll go ahead and tighten that bolt back, or bolt back there that I had to loosen, let this upper control arm down to get it out of the way. And hopefully I can get these bolts back in here and then I'll probably, you know, put a load on it and then torque my bolts down, and hopefully that'll be it. But anyway, this does it for Paul Block's Garage. If you got any questions, concerns, I understand this video is not a how-to video, but it's just kind of showing you, you know, what kind of problems you may come into when you're doing it. Most of my videos are raw. I try to keep it that way. I'm not doing this for fame and fortune. I'm just doing it for entertainment purposes, and maybe along the way I help somebody out. But anyway, Paul Block's Garage, peace out, bye.